Haters are a good problem to have. Nobody hates the good ones. They hate the great ones. Kobe Bryant.
In Pau Gasol. Kobe and Pau Gasol were great friends. They were great teammates. So, to honor Kobe, we decided to choose one of his favorite players to play with in Pau Gasol. Pau Gasol had a great career, as many of you know. He had his great years in Memphis. He had, although they didn't find much success in the playoffs, he set many franchise records. And then in LA, of course, those two championships. And even in the latter part of his career, he got some things done. And especially internationally, he was big in the international scene. And yeah, so with that, I'll first go into um, Pau Gasol's early career. So Pau was born in Barcelona to parents who actually were pretty active in the basketball scene. His dad was pretty tall, at 6'3", and his mom was 6'1". So overall, just a tall family. So you'd expect those basketball genes would pass in him as well. And he was a stud even at a young age. When he was 16, he was playing for Barcelona's junior team. Um, and he won the 1998 FIBA Europe Under-18 Championship. And he made a debut with the actual senior team of Barcelona in 1999. Even though he didn't play many minutes, 5 minutes a game. And in the Spanish National Cup finals, Barcelona won that year in 2001, and Gasol was the MVP. And this is when he entered the NBA draft at around the same time, and he was selected third overall by the Hawks. And the Hawks made like a very controversial, terrible trade here. Looking back at it, it was a terrible trade. Um, Basically, Memphis traded for Gasol, and they also got Brevin Knight and Lorenzen Wright, and they gave Atlanta Sharif Abdur-Rahim, who was a decent player, and a 27th pick in the 2001 draft. And this 27th pick turned out to be Jamal Tinsley, actually, which didn't turn out to be much. Let's just be honest here. And Abdur-Rahim was a decent player, but Pau Gasol was clearly the one who had a better part, who was doing better in his career. He set many records with the Grizzlies. Abdur-Rahim didn't really do much in Atlanta. They never led them to the playoffs, even though he was playing with Jason Terry, Glenn Robinson, but it was a team that really didn't do much. So
the season he got traded to the Hawks, he was an all-star. But then he never.
Huh? But yeah, it's just like that success never really realized into something more. Yeah.
I mean, it could have been. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot worse.
It could have been worse. I agree. Yeah.
There was an interesting kind of sequence of trades there, right? So Sharif Abdur-Rahim, he actually didn't spend that much time with the Hawks. He only played there from 01 to 04, which I guess that's a few seasons. But when you're giving up the third pick in the draft, you're trying to get a franchise type player. He ends up getting traded in 04 for Rasheed Wallace. So the Hawks had Rasheed Wallace prior to him going to the Pistons. But he ended up getting traded just after a few weeks with the Hawks. So it was just this long little sequence. And then nothing really came out of that trade, I don't think. The Hawks just got a first-round pick. I don't think that turned anything. And then Bob Sura and Zelko Rubracha.
I never heard of
I should not have tried to.
Why we even mention them, But yeah, continue.
I feel like I might have just offended more people by mispronouncing them. But yeah, sorry. Basically the point is that trade for the Hawks, it didn't work out at all. They got a couple of good years out of Abdur-Rahim, but long term clearly didn't work out.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at Pau, as soon as he came into the league, he was a stud. Maybe because of that experience in Europe. It's almost like how Luka, as soon as he entered the NBA, he was a stud because he had that professional experience. And actually, parallels between him and Luka. Luka was also drafted. The Hawks messed up there again. I wouldn't say they messed up. They didn't mess up, but Trey's a good player. But
wait, can I say something though? Yeah. I see all these people defending the Hawks trade, and sure Trey's good, but even if Cam Reddish becomes like a solid role player,
it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah. Anyway, that's besides the point.
I didn't like it. On the Hawks. I mean, we kind of did already, but it's fine now. Now, Gasol's first year, he was the first foreign player to win the Rookie of the Year, and he definitely deserved this, averaging 18 points and 9 rebounds a game, and he didn't miss a single game this season. And the team wasn't very good around him. They didn't have many guys that could step up, and they went 23-59 this year. So overall, not a great team. But Pau the next year played 82 games again, averaging 19 points and 9 rebounds and 2 blocks. Actually, 2 blocks the previous season as well. So he was clearly developing into a young star. And the third season in Memphis, they actually finally found some success. They went 50-32, and Pau Gasol had another great season here: 17 points, 8 rebounds, and around 1.7 blocks. It was in those last 3 years. It was arguably one of his. It was one of the worst ones, but the team was better around him, and they made the playoffs. He played 78 games again, so a guy that was just always available. He didn't have to play as many minutes as well. Yeah, and this was the first year they had made the playoffs, but once again, the playoffs never really materialized into anything for this team. They lost 4-0 in the first round, so nothing really happened there, and I think it was to the Spurs, so a team with more experience, arguably more depth, or things like that, basically.
More talent straight up.
Talent straight up, yeah, that's true, definitely. And then this team in 04-05, with Pau Gasol having another decent season. He's just very consistent across the line if you look at his stats here. Another 17.8 points per game season, 7.3 rebounds, and 1.7 blocks. And he didn't play as many games this season. He actually only played 56, so he missed around 26 games this season. But guys were able to pick up the load, and the team managed to make the playoffs again. They went 45-37. Once again, they got swept in the first round, though. So I think it was to the Mavericks. But once again, this team wasn't able to do much when it came to the playoffs. But the next season that we're going to talk about was arguably Pau Gasol's best season. Pau this year averaged 20 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, which is pretty decent for a center, and 1.9 blocks. And this season, the Grizzlies as well had another decent season in terms of the record. They went 49-33. But, once again, you can already guess what happened here. Any of you guys want to guess?
Sorry, what was that? Can you repeat the question?
They made the playoffs again. They were 49-33. Do you guys want to guess what happened in the playoffs?
Yeah. They got swept in the first round?
They got swept in the first round. Yeah, they got swept.
I didn't even know that, bro.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. It was pretty sad. It's really sad, not gonna lie. But he actually shattered many records not many, but one of his many records he shattered this season was he was the 10th fastest player to reach 5,000 points and 500 blocks since 1973 to 1974. I guess that's actually not that much of a record. I don't even know why I'm emphasizing it.
Wow. I mean,
but it's good. It's impressive. It's impressive. Yeah, just Pau Gasol doing Pau Gasol things, And this season, I don't know if I think I already said this, but yeah, 20 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks. Just an overall very efficient season for Pau, shooting a tad bit over 50%. He was really, really putting in work there. And
his first All-Star season too.
First All-Star season too. Yeah, first year he made the All-Star team. Arguably, he could have made the All-Star team even in 2002, 2003. But I guess the team success as well was pretty important. But this was definitely one of his best seasons in Memphis.
Yeah, I don't know if it's worth looking at the All-Star teams of those years, but I'm sure there was some good players.
Yeah, and I'm sure there was to get him in, but it's not surprising. I guess there's probably much more other.
Yeah, I mean Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
Just off
it was a league that was pretty well dominated by bigs, I guess, back in that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the following season, Memphis went back to their losing ways. They went 22-60, despite Pau Gasol's great efforts to lead this team to the playoffs, and he had a better statistical season actually this season. He averaged around 21 points, almost 10 rebounds, and 2.1 blocks. But this team once again just didn't find much success. So I'm assuming he only played 59 games this season as well. And are there any other notable? Who are the most notable guys on this Memphis team? Let's see.
Eddie
Check
Jones.
that out real quick.
Okay.
Who?
Eddie Jones.
Eddie Jones, I guess. Yeah, he was a decent shooter.
Mike Miller.
Rudy
Gay,
yes.
Young Rudy Gay.
Oh yeah, you landed on this team actually in 2K today. It's disappointing, but
this team.
Yeah, you did, and you were like, God damn it, I don't want to be this team.
It's this
two other good players.
Huh?
It was 07-08, I think.
No, it was 05-06.
05-06. Yeah.
Why are we talking about 06-07?
Yeah, we're talking about.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about like this. I guess it's
the team
similar
changed
roster.
a lot. The team changed a lot.
Yeah.
From 05-06 to 06-07.
So two more notable guys, Kyle Lowry, and then also a guy we mentioned back in our very first video, TTP1, Dante Jones. He was mentioned for about 2 seconds because he could have been an alternative for Matt Barnes.
Check out that first episode. Yeah. Oh, Shane Battier too. Shane Battier was there too.
Yeah, Shane Battier.
Yeah,
he didn't kill it. Wait, not this season.
No, he's not. Not this season.
05-06, he was there.
We're looking at 06-07.
Oh, not 06-07. Okay. All right, fine.
This is your portion, bro.
I'm sorry. But yeah, 07, there wasn't really many guys other than, I guess, Rudy Gay, Mike Miller. If you guys have heard of Chucky Atkins, I think you guys have heard of Brian Cardinal, but yeah, not many guys that are notable looking at in this team.
Another interesting thing, Damon Stoudemire played for the Toronto Raptors, and you know how the Grizzlies were Vancouver. They weren't at this time, but just interesting to think about,
Not that interesting. Vancouver's closer to fucking. It's like not even the same vicinity.
Yeah, these are the things I'm thinking about at night, dude. That's an interesting thought right there. Yeah. Yeah. So this team just, as you can tell, wasn't very good. Also, Powell only played 59 games that season. They've gone through, the past few years and many head coaches. I think his name is Mark Fratello. I don't know. Yeah, but the next season with a new coach, Mark Iovaroni, they went 20.
These people.
I don't know. They went 22-60 again.
They sound like mobsters. Tony Barone.
What was the current coach's name? Mark Baroni?
No, it was Mark Iovaroni, and then the
that's 100% a mobster, bro.
Oh, Mike Fratello. I think I've heard of this guy.
Mike Fratello.
Those are both
Tony Barone. Tony Barone.
No, it's Mark Iovaroni.
Huh?
Yeah, I know that's more
I know.
monster
Then
than what
Mike Fratello.
Oh yeah,
Tony Barone.
Yeah.
And now they've changed their ways, and now they have Taylor Jenkins. So Taylor Jenkins, who didn't he go to Penn? He didn't even play basketball.
Yeah.
But
it is what it is. And the following season, just guess what? Was Memphis good? No. Memphis wasn't good again. They went 22-60 again. But actually this season he missed the first 23 games of the season I was talking about before, actually 06-07 season. And that was due to a broken foot that came in an international game. I think Chirag will cover more of the international game there. But that season as well, just some records that he passed. He passed Sharif Abdur-Rahim as the franchise's all-time leader in free throw attempts. Very, very crazy there. But he also became the all-time franchise leader in field goals made that season as well. So, he's really shattering records there, especially, surpassing Sharif in the all-time leader in free throw attempts. Just things are coming full circle here. It's crazy to see.
Can I go on a tangent really quickly about
Yeah.
Taylor Jenkins?
Yeah.
So currently he's the NBA's second youngest head coach. And he's the only head coach in the NBA who did not play in college. So he went to University of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
He's a Penn grad who, again, didn't play in college. Keshav, bro, if you walk on, which I think there's realistically like there's a non-zero chance that you're able to walk on. Okay, there's a non-zero chance you're able to walk on at UCSB. You can you've played more college basketball than Taylor Jenkins.
That's a good point. Coach potential right here. I don't know. Maybe you got something there. But then we transition into the following season. It's not even worth noting. Pau Gasol had another great season, but that's when things began to fall apart. And I don't know. I can transition to Rowett here. In the Pau Gasol trade to LA.
Yes. So Pau Gasol. Clearly, this team didn't really have any momentum. Had their third coach and second or third coach in a few years. Yeah. Pau Gasol has been here for 7 years. This is his 7th season with the team, and they've only made the playoffs a few times.
He'd been through 4 head coaches. Actually, yeah,
4 head coaches. And again, this was his 7th season, where he got traded mid-season. There's no playoff upside here. At least there hadn't been in the previous years. We already talked about some of those sweeps. And it just screamed trade possibility here. And then obviously, the Los Angeles Lakers, who ended up finishing this season as the number 1 seed in the West. So they're clearly competing. Kobe had been missing that big piece since the departure of Shaquille O'Neal. Clearly, it wasn't Kwame who ended up getting traded in this deal. Andrew Bynum was still young. He didn't actually break out until really his last season in LA. So Kobe was looking for that sidekick. It wasn't Derek Fisher. Lamar Odom was good, obviously, but he was looking for that star. Los Angeles Lakers, Mitch Kupchak, greatest trade he has ever made for the greatest player in Memphis Grizzlies history, Pau Gasol. So the trade, like I mentioned, Kwame Brown. They also gave up Javaris Crittenton. Javaris Crittenton, not a really notable player on the court. Only played about one and a half seasons with the Grizzlies. Didn't do a whole lot. Kwame Brown is Kwame Brown. They also got Aaron McKee, who, interestingly enough, was signed that day, the day of the trade. The Lakers signed Aaron McKee and traded him. I didn't know that was actually. I guess the CBA was different, but I don't think that would be legal today. They also got 2 first-round picks in 2008 and 2010. If one of you guys want to quickly check who those were, I don't think it was anyone notable just because we would have known about that. But they got 2 first-round picks, but they also give up the draft rights to former second-round pick. So Pau Gasol had 2 brothers. You guys might know of Adria Gasol. He walked on at UCLA. Played college basketball there, didn't play in the NBA, but a really notable guy. And also his other brother, Marc Gasol. Marc Gasol was a second-round pick by the Lakers. He ended up getting traded to the Grizzlies here. Wasn't necessarily the primary piece in this trade. It was the picks. It was not a great position for the Grizzlies. They didn't have the leverage here. But they get Pau Gasol, or they give up Pau Gasol to the Lakers. And Pau really, really makes a difference with this team. It's really night and day with him in the starting lineup. Through the end of the season, the Lakers went 22-5 with Pau in the starting lineup, and they finished 57-25. He plays really, really well in the regular season, but then the playoffs, he really steps it up. Very first game of the playoffs, Pau has 36, 16 rebounds, and 8 assists, and 3 block shots. Just keep that in mind. He's not like the featured guy here. It's Kobe's show, but Pau puts up 36, assisted 8 times. And Keshav, you mentioned this earlier. He was a really good passer. He had 5 assists that 1 year. Key reason they got him for that triangle offense is because of his ability to pass. Probably one of the reasons why he was so successful here. A really good fit, especially early on with Phil Jackson. Anyway, they cruised throughout. Sorry?
Just on a side note about the players the Grizzlies drafted in 2008. So they got Kevin Love that year with the 5th pick, and they traded him to Minnesota. So they got OJ Mayo and a couple of guys.
Who was the first round pick they got from the Lakers though? In 08 and 10.
Oh, wait. Well, my bad. Let me
Yeah.
see. Okay.
Also,
Dante
you were
Green.
talking about Aaron,
Green. Yeah.
but it
Yeah,
was
sorry?
a 28 pick,
Shrug?
so it doesn't really matter. But you were talking about Aaron McKee
Yeah.
earlier, right? So how he was signed and then traded.
Yeah.
Immediately after he got waived, or not immediately, but later in May he got waived by the Grizzlies.
Damn.
So it just
So I guess
feels
did
bad
he?
for the guy.
He must have signed a 2-year contract or something, like a non-guaranteed for the next year. That's
didn't
really
even play a
unfortunate
game.
for him. God.
He didn't even play a game.
Do you think he knew about this when he must have known about this when he signed with the Lakers, right? There's no way that they just signed him and like 2 hours later they're like,
he was on the Lakers in 2006, 2007.
okay, so he'd been in contact with the team, I
At this
guess.
point he was around 35. So
Yeah,
no
he'd made his
surprise.
cash. Yeah. Well,
Great kid.
so yeah. I'm gonna get back to Powell though. Lakers have a really impressive playoffs through the NBA or through the conference finals. They beat the Nuggets in the first round. They beat the Jazz in the second round. Again, Powell really stepped it up. And then they beat the Spurs in conference finals. The Spurs, like we'd mentioned, had been pretty much the team in the West in these post-Shaq Laker days. Or even in the early 2000s, the Spurs were obviously doing what you would expect them to do. Lakers make it to the finals against the Boston Celtics. I don't want to talk about this too much. Lakers losing 6 games, but this was kind of a showcase for what would happen in the next few seasons. The next year, Pau Gasol, a lot of big things happen. So he earns his second All-Star appearance. He also scores his 10,000th career point in 2009, 2010. He had a lot of accolades this year, actually. Western Conference Player of the Month in February. And then I don't want to talk too much about the playoffs, but the Lakers did win the finals against the Orlando Magic, the Dwight Howard-led Orlando Magic. We must have talked about that in the Dwight Howard video a little bit. But yeah, so Powell, 2 years in, he's made an impact. He leads them to the NBA championships in his first year alongside Kobe and Lamar Odom. And the second year, they actually win it, the first of what would end up being 2 championships for Powell and the Lakers. So 2009, 2010, another big year for Powell, specifically for a contract reason. He actually signed a 3-year contract extension worth $65 million in December of that season. So he finally gets the bag. And this is obviously the most he's gotten paid to this point. It's a massive contract. He earns his second straight All-Star appearance and his third total. And he has a good season. 18 points, 11 rebounds, 3.5 assists, which are still, again, pretty notable for a big man, and then 1.7 blocks. And this is one of those guys, he continually performed in the playoffs. Conference semis against the Utah Jazz, 23.5 points and 14.5 rebounds. And then in the conference finals against the Phoenix Suns, another really good team of this era, 19.7 points and 7.2 rebounds. I didn't know he was this good in the playoffs. He actually elevated his play so far above what he did in the regular season. Utah Jazz stats are kind of crazy. But then, yeah, that NBA Finals goes 7 games. This was his finals. And his second one, he scores 19 points in Game 7, the decisive game of the series, grabbed 18 rebounds, had 2 blocks. He just delivered. He was a really consistent rebounder for this team, and he ended up winning. And then this year, he was also selected as the 15th smartest athlete in sports by Sporting News. So really, really good year for Powell. Second straight championship. I believe what did I say? His second straight All-Star appearance as well. And then I'm not going to talk too much about this next season. So we talked about 2009, 2010, 2010, 2011, another good season. This season ended up with the Mavericks winning the title. Powell made his third straight All-Star game with 19 points, 10 rebounds, another 3 assists, and 1.6 blocks. But yeah, great season for him. This was his final All-Star appearance with the Lakers. But then we're going to move on to 2011, 2012. And I'm going to speed through these last few years just because These are more unfortunate, more injury riddled. But 2011-2012 is a really, really important year for Pau. In December of 2011, you may recall a pretty notable trade, or a prospective trade. Chris Paul, the New Orleans Hornets, there was an agreement to send him to the Los Angeles Lakers that also involved the Houston Rockets. Lakers would have received Chris Paul. Lakers would have sent a few players, Lamar Odom, one of them, and Pau Gasol, another one. Pau Gasol would have been sent to the Rockets. Lamar Odom would have gone to New Orleans. And some ancillary pieces as well. Or I shouldn't say ancillary. These are pretty important pieces. Luis Scola, Kevin Martin, and Goran Dragic to the Hornets. Would have been a big haul for them. Pau didn't end up getting traded because of David Stern. Right now, at this point, the Hornets were a little bit of a limbo. Didn't have an owner. So David Stern, the NBA, were owning the team. And I personally know the explanation for why this trade didn't end up going through. I actually have this is just a primary source here. I'm actually can't find it.
This is the real deal right here, guys. This is a real official response. So
I have the response here. I'm trying to find what I sent to them. But I'll give you some quick context. So I was really pissed. So this is basically the first year where I actually started following sports. And I do have I have found the email. But this is the first year I really started following sports, and I was a fan of the Lakers, and I was so excited to see Chris Paul get traded to this team, because the first NBA game I ever played was NBA Jam on the Wii. Chris was really good, and I was super excited, right? And when I heard this trade didn't go through, I was super pissed. I sent an email to the NBA office, the executives, and I thought David Stern would reply to this, but he did not. It was his secretary. I said, "Hi, my name is Rohit. I am an 11-year-old basketball fan. I wanted to know if oh wait, shit, no, this is the wrong email. I sent them a second email later on. So yes, I have sent them 2 emails. Oh fuck, how many emails did I send? I found 3 so far.
Oh my god.
Okay, I'll just give you context of what the email was. I basically asked David Stern why he canceled the trade, and then I said, in the offseason, is it okay if you give the Lakers first priority to signing Chris Paul? So basically, I was asking them to, instead of giving the Clippers that moratorium period, I wanted him. I didn't know what that meant, but I basically asked him to give it to the Lakers, which makes 0 sense. But I was actually I was I was 9. Okay, so this was
this
is 2 years before. Yeah.
You really thought, maybe you had something going there.
Yeah, but here's what they said. So, dear Rohit, thank you for contacting the National Basketball Association with your concerns regarding the recent trade between the New Orleans Hornets and Los Angeles Clippers. While much speculation and misrepresentation of facts has surrounded this trade, and an earlier proposed deal would have sent Chris Paul to the Lakers, the league is pleased to have reached an agreement that benefits both the Hornets and the Clippers. As the NBA currently owns the New Orleans Hornets, the team's most significant business decisions ultimately require Commissioner Stern's approval and are made in the best interest of the franchise. In this case, senior team and league executives Jack Sperling, Dell Demps, Stu Jackson, and Commissioner Stern recommended the Clippers offered the best overall trade package. This is where I kind of lost it. The best overall trade package. They basically had the option of getting Lamar Odom, Goran Dragic, Kevin Martin, Luis Scola, or what ended up being Austin Rivers, Eric Gordon, and Al-Farouq Aminu. They didn't even address my entire complaint about Chris Paul, the Lakers getting that moratorium period. But yes,
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it was tough. Actually, I ended up responding to that email. I said, "Hi, this is Rohit, but all you got in the offer from the Clippers was injury-prone Eric Gordon and a few others."
What if they replied and they're like, "Shit, you're right, dude. They'll fix this right away."
Yeah. I think it must have been a no reply or something. I don't know if I'm gonna I could read the other email I sent to the NBA. I don't know if they responded.
Maybe you should
They actually did respond to my.
You should send them an email to get some closure on this topic.
Yeah, it's like
Maybe.
9 years ago.
Yeah.
You guys give me a shitty response. Apparently, so I'll quickly move. I'm pretty much done talking about Pau's Laker days. I'll let Trog talk about what like the very end of it. But I did want to quickly note this email I sent. I said this is 2 years later, and there was some sort of rumors about the draft lottery changing to a wheel system. I think I must have just seen this on Bleacher Report. I don't think it was an actual thing, but it was, "Hi, my name is Rohit. I'm an 11-year-old basketball fan. I wanted to know if the rumors about changing the draft lottery to a wheel system was true. Thank you. Please reply soon." And then they respond saying, "Thank you for contacting the NBA with your inquiry about the draft lottery. While we are constantly exploring ways to improve our league and enhance the overall experience for players and fans, we currently do not have plans to change the draft lottery system." So, really good response. Anyway, back to Pau. The last few years here in LA were a mess. He finally lost Phil Jackson, so he wasn't part of that whole triangle offense. He was working more with Mike Brown, Mike D'Antoni. Injuries were a thing. He didn't play more than 65 games in his final 3 seasons with his final 3 seasons, including that Chris Paul trade year. Still put up 17 points 2 of those years, but it was a limited few years for him, and obviously the whole Dwight Howard, Lakers, Steve Nash, that whole situation didn't work out. It wasn't a good fit. So the writing was on the wall. His time was up in LA, and he moved on to the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, so things didn't end well on the Lakers. Obviously, injury concerns, and the team itself just seemed to be falling apart. So Pau Gasol decided that he would take his talent to Chicago. At this point, he was. Let me check his age real quick. He was 35, I believe. Is that correct? 34 at this point. So he was aging at this point. He was still a good player. He posted up, as Ro just said, 17 points on the Lakers. But he decided to go to Chicago. And this team was actually projected, the Chicago team, their preseason championship projections had them 4th, which surprised me a lot. But they had Jimmy Butler, who was shining at this time. They had Joakim, obviously, former Defensive Player of the Year. Derrick Rose, injury. Solid team, but to say that they would be projected 4th for a championship was surprising to me.
I guess that time, especially with Derrick Rose, even when he got injured, like they always everyone always predicted their success though.
But I mean, this was 2 years after he returned.
That's
so
true. That's true.
They knew what they were getting at this point.
Yeah, he wasn't the same player. Yeah.
Yeah, but he, in some ways, he had a career rejuvenation on this on Chicago. He wasn't being paid as much, only $7 million a year. I believe he signed a 3-year, $20-something million contract. But
22
million, something like that. But this season he posted up 18.5 points, 12 rebounds. I believe this is a career high in rebounds. Yeah, this season was career high in rebounds. So at the age of 34, he was really showing up. He also 1.9 blocks, just a really solid season for Pau Gasol. And I'm not sure when he started practicing threes, but this season he shot 46% from 3. I mean, later in his career, we see that he shoots a lot more threes. Not later, but 2 seasons from this. But that was an aspect that I guess changed his game. Just like his brother Mark, he decided to extend his range and play more of it as a stretch big. So it made a lot more versatile, especially at his age. But this season, he was actually an all-star for the first time since 2010. So we really see Pau coming back in a way. This team was projected 4th, as I said earlier, for a championship. They actually went 50-32, which is pretty impressive. But they lost in the second round to the Cavs, who ended up going to the finals. So it was a pretty good season for this Bulls team. It definitely helped that Pau Gasol joined the team. We see that on previous season they went 48-34, but they lost in the first round. So I think he definitely helped this team. And going into this next season, Pau once again played well, 16 and a half points, 11 rebounds. Yeah, he increases assists once again to 4.1. And just another great season. We see his minutes start to die down. This season, he's getting 31 minutes a game. So he's still playing most of the season itself, but at this time, he's 35 years old. He has 1 year left of his contract, but he actually decides to opt out of his contract this season. On the pod, we've talked a lot about this 2016 2017 CBA deal that increased the salary cap.
We don't know. We haven't
What?
talked about this on the pod at all. We talked about this
Yeah, but like
off. Like
Durant.
we were just.
We talk about Durant.
Wait, when did we talk about
Durant, when you
CBA?
we talked about
Huh?
how he went
Wait,
to
we
Warriors.
didn't talk much about Durant's career. Remember, that was a weird episode. It was like we're just kind of talking
Yeah.
about shooting and like.
I feel like we talked whatever. Okay. In 2016, 2017, there's a new TV deal with the NBA that increased the salary cap dramatically. So we see the likes of guys like who's a good example? Alan Crabb. I believe he got like a 3-year, $80 million contract or something.
Okay,
Something like that.
we'll talk. We should have a separate episode about this.
Yeah, we'll have a
We
separate
already talked
episode.
about
But basically, players, they had a lot of extra money, and teams are trying to fill it, obviously, trying to get as much talent as they can. So they overpaid for players that really didn't deserve their contracts. So not saying Pau Gasol didn't deserve it, because he was definitely playing well, but for this, on the Spurs team, he got a 3-year, I believe it was $45 million contract at the age
It's a
of
bargain, to be
36.
honest.
Yeah, it's still, I don't think if you were posting the same stats, I don't think he'd get 15 million in today's NBA.
You know what I mean, though.
Yeah. He was good. But yeah, so now he's taking his talents to the Spurs. I think he fit well with the Spurs team. Maybe if he was younger in his career, they could have gone on and won some championships. But I feel like he really bought into this Popovich play style. Good passing big, calm, collected, plays good defense, just plays the game the right way. But at this point, he was 35, so 36 actually. So you can't really expect much. He actually only started 39 out of 64 games this season, averaged 12 points, 7.8 rebounds. Yeah, at this point, he's only averaging 25.4 minutes a game for the Spurs team. But obviously they have Kawhi on this team. They had championship admirations. LaMarcus Aldridge, Danny Green, Tony Parker. They went 61-21.
No, I meant you could aspirations. That's what I meant. That's what you meant.
What did I say?
Admiration.
Yeah. Okay. But so this team lost in the Western Conference Finals to the Warriors. As we know, they got swept. You never know what could have happened. If someone didn't decide to step somewhere they shouldn't step. But
fair point.
We'll leave that to speculation. Now, maybe Pau could have got another ring. You never know what could happen there. But next season, he's 37. He's only getting 24 minutes once again. Averaged 10 points, 8 rebounds. He actually started more games, 63 games. But for a 37-year-old veteran, I think this is still pretty impressive. I actually ran the stats by earlier for the first, I believe it was, how many seasons? 14 seasons of his career. And he had a standard deviation of 1.03 with a mean of 18.57.
What?
So I think that's
points?
Yeah, points. So I think that's a standard deviation of 1.03, super impressive for 13 seasons in the NBA, averaging above 15 points. I'm not sure if that's a stat. Maybe we can look into that. Who has the lowest standard deviation over 15 seasons, averaging more than 15 points? But yeah, that's super impressive. Even in his later years, he still improves with his 3-point game. I think that helps some of these championship teams. I wouldn't call the Bulls, but the Spurs. 2017, Kawhi gets injured, so season all their hopes kind of end there. And then what do you say?
I've seen he's super consistent throughout his entire career.
Super consistent.
Yeah, it's amazing that he continue to put up those numbers. And even in San Antonio, these numbers aren't bad, especially this late in your career. Like he's playing limited minutes too,
Yeah.
with some injury issues. It's impressive.
Yeah.
I will say that it's
But
kind of shocking how he peaked at 20.8 points. I mean, that's good, obviously,
Mhm.
but like just for reference, I was gonna mention this later, but I might as well mention it now. Pau was the second leading scorer amongst all European players, behind, of course, Dirk Nowitzki. Um, so in terms of not points per game, but just raw points, he scored 20,894. But yeah, he peaked at 20.8, which is it's good, but I don't know. You almost expect more from a guy like Pau. Not that I'm like, I'm not shit talking at all, not at all. But
And maybe you see guys like Dirk put up more numbers, especially or higher numbers, big men like him, because I guess Dirk had a 3-point game that was more well developed. I think that may
yeah,
be.
and Pau, like, yeah, obviously he was a really good passer. He did a lot more than just
Yeah,
shoot. He was an awesome defender.
yeah,
And of course, we talked about the rebounds. The rebounds per season they were good, like 9 over his career, but then also some of those per game playoffs numbers that I mentioned with the Lakers were really crazy.
yeah.
also
But then Trog, yeah.
just to note, Sharif Abdur-Rahim peaked at 23 points per game in his third season in the NBA. So, just shout out to Sharif, great guy. We don't forget you on the pod, But so in March of 2019, after the Spurs season, they decide to buy out and then waive Pau Gasol. And he goes to some of these other teams. He doesn't really do much. I believe he gets signed to the Bucks. I think he plays 3 games. Then this past season, he got signed to the Blazers. He gets waived in November. There have been speculation that he's gonna play. That he sign with the Lakers and then overseas, but I don't see it happening. But he's still getting paid
He
$5 million
seems
because he got
content.
bought out from San Antonio. So I think Pau's winning, sitting on his couch. Not sitting on his couch. He does a lot.
Oh,
Getting
yeah.
5 mil. Getting 5 mil. Without playing a game this season, which is actually more than he's a notable player.
And
Donovan
I wanted to
Mitchell?
quickly. What?
It's more than Donovan
I mean,
Mitchell, I think. To be on the point. What were you saying?
Yeah. I wanted to quickly discuss some of Pau's Instagram things here. Well, not discussing his Instagram, but discussing the things he's posted on his Instagram. July 27th, a big day for Pau. He announced to the public that he and his wife, Kat McDonald, Kat Gasol, they are having a kid. It is, let me check the gender. Okay, I don't think we know the gender, but yeah. So Pau Gasol is having a son, or a daughter, whichever one he wants, I guess. But
He
that's
wants?
you know what I mean. Right?
What do you mean? Nah, I don't.
I don't know what I mean. I don't know. Either way, he's gonna have a kid later this year. Gonna be Kobe's, either his niece or his nephew, because Kobe and him, they're hermanos, right? He's been spending a lot of time with the Bryant family this summer. Just a few days ago, 4 days ago, he and his wife spent time with Coco, BB, Natalia, and Vanessa. They went boating somewhere, probably in SoCal. So it's a great. You love to see it. Still being a loyal brother to his Kobe.
Yeah, Kobe and Pau would actually talk to each other in Spanish during games so that opponents wouldn't be able to hear. Just a lot of stories between Pau and Kobe.
It's a great friendship.
Kobe,
It's a great.
Kobe called Pau, Pablo Escobar because of his killer mentality. Just a lot of great stories between these two guys, and they got 2 chips, so we love to see it. Later in his career, Pau, he's done a lot of social work with UNICEF, just a lot of different things. He has the Gasol Foundation, started in 2013.
To work
He's
with his brother, I assume.
yeah, with Mark. And maybe Adria Gasol. Who knows? Who knows? But he's also advocated for equality in sports. Um, he's just been very active sports community and around the world. He's done even before the NBA. He had a lot of European League championships and MVP and other accolades through the Olympics, the FIBA World Championships. He's won a lot. There's just way too many accolades to even talk about. He's definitely one of the greater European players of all time, as well as internationally. He's had a lot of success. We've talked a lot about Pau on the court, but I just love the way Pau, the way he just maintains his composure at all times. I think that's what's really impressive about this guy. Pau
One of my
science.
God, love the guy. One of my favorite YouTube videos, one of my favorite YouTube channels for a while, Serge Ibaka's YouTube channel, where he has his How Hungry Are You series, Mafuzi Chef. Shout out Mafuzi. He cooks like kind of nasty things. Like he'll take, I don't know, like like bull testicles or
Snake,
I don't know, like, huh?
snake stuff.
Snake, yeah, like we just nasty shit. He had an episode, so he had this last year where Serge and Mark won a title. Really, really good friends. They had known each other, I think. I mean, being in the NBA for all these years. So 3 international bigs, they got together. Serge made them some food. Really good video. These guys are just so composed, bro. Pau and Mark, just really stand up guys. I assume Adria too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pau walks that Mark could run.
What did you say?
And then Mark started to run so that Adria could walk. No.
Exactly.
No, but he's just a great player, obviously on the court, but just a great person off the court too. You just love his personality. As Trog was saying, he's cool-headed, but he gets the job done. He does what he's supposed to do, and he's good at what he does. Like, amazing.
And I believe that if Pau had 5 more years in his career, I think he could definitely continue to be an all-star. I think in this NBA, he'd be a heavily recruited player just because of his his ability to shoot the 3, especially at the end of his career, and his his defense, because we don't see a lot of that in the NBA right now for a guy that's 7 foot.
A pretty fair statement. Yeah, the only concern here is, well, the threes I think they would have developed because he clearly he learned fast. He learned fast. He ended up shooting 1.6 at his peak, or in terms of his 3-point attempt peak, which is up from like 0.1, 0.2 that he was shooting throughout his Grizzlies career. So I think we all really like Pau on the court. We talked a lot about his numbers. You already know about that, the standard deviations and whatnot. But this is a stand-up guy off the court. In my opinion, not the greatest European player. That'll be Dirk, or that is Dirk, and might eventually be Luka or Denny Avdija. He might be the greatest of all time. We don't know. Yeah.
Luka.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding about Denny Avdija. But yeah, Luka.
All right.
Oh, okay. I thought we were gonna sing a little bit more there. But yeah, again, in terms of scoring, before we wrap this, he was second leading scorer amongst Europeans, a 2-time champion, a 6-time All-Star, really accomplished player, great off the court, and the hermano of Kobe Bryant. But I think that'll just about do it for the 17th episode of TTP, the second episode of Mamba Week. So we actually have some big things planned tomorrow it'll all be our stream, right, on bot types. I think we're still going to be doing that. So I think you guys are going to tune in. I think Keshav, you'll put the link for bot types in the description. We'll post about this on Instagram. I'm sure you guys can see the handle in the top right. But yeah, we'll be streaming on Twitch. If you guys didn't see our NBA draft video, you can check that out, TTP 15. Big things planned. Pau Gasol is not on any of these teams just because it's a modern day draft. But yeah, we're really excited for that. Hope you guys are too. You can check out our bot types Twitch, check out our Instagram. That'll just about do it though. And we will see you tomorrow night.